Debts forgiven, slaves set free. Jesus is our Jubilee. At the Lord's appointed time, his deep desire became a man, the heart of all true jubilation, and with joy we understand. In his voice we hear a trumpet sound that tells us we are free. He is the incarnation of the year of Jubilee. Jubilee, Jubilee. Jesus is the Jubilee. Debts forgiven, slaves set free. Jesus is our Jubilee. To be so completely guilty, given over to despair. To look into your judge's face and see your Savior there. Jubilee, Jubilee. Jesus is the Jubilee. Debts forgiven, slaves set free. Jesus is our Jubilee. Jubilee. Jesus is the Jubilee. Debts forgiven, slaves set free. Jesus is our Jubilee. Amen. So, to be so completely guilty, given over to despair, to look into your judge's face and see your Savior there. Jubilee. That's my verse in this. That's why I sing this song, just to get to that part. I like that part. I like that part. Let's go, Elizabeth. Don't start me too soon, though. There we go. This is sort of George Beverly Shea, sort of. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be his than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or land. I'd rather be led by his nailed, pierced hands than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. I'd rather have Jesus than men's applause. I'd rather be faithful to his dear cause. I'd rather have Jesus than worldwide fame. I'd rather be true his holy name than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sin's dress way, than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held his sin's dress away. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. I'd rather have Jesus. I'd rather have Jesus Billy Graham was one of the few white people we'd allowed in our house when I was a kid growing up. I mean, welcoming like me. But I remember as a kid listening to George Beverly Shea sing this song. And that verse, I'd rather have Jesus than men's applause. I like it when people clap and pat me on the back and say encouraging things, especially when they mean it. But I'd rather be faithful to his dear cause. I'd rather have Jesus than worldwide fame. Now, let me tell you something. Standing here in Bermuda, when I was a little boy getting mosquito bitten in McGee, Arkansas, I did not think I was ever going to be standing in Bermuda singing, I'd rather have Jesus. But I am. And it's a joy to be here. But worldwide fame has never been one of the things I wanted. I want to be true to his holy name. And I want that to be the message that the world sees. Michael says, don't let the world teach you theology. We shouldn't let the world live theology either. We should be living that theology. We should be living who we are. And that's what that song's about. All right, one more song. If I can drink some water. And then I'm going to sit down. All right, Elizabeth. Hear the heart of heaven beating. Jesus saves, Jesus saves, and the hush of mercy breathing. Jesus saves, Jesus saves. Hear the host of angels sing, glory to the newborn King, and the sounding joy repeating, Jesus saves. See the harmless hearts adore him. Jesus saves, Jesus saves, and the wisest bow before him. Jesus saves, Jesus saves. See the sky alive with praise, melting darkness in his blaze. There is light forevermore in Jesus Jesus saves. He will live our sorrow sharing. Jesus saves. Jesus saves. He will die our burden bearing. Jesus saves. Jesus saves. Oh, it is done. We'll shout the cross. Christ has paid my redemption cost. While the empty tomb declaring, Jesus saves. Freedom's calling, chains are falling, hope is dawning bright and true. Day is breaking, night is quaking, God is making all things new. Jesus saves. Oh, to grace, how great a debt! Jesus saves. Jesus saves. While the saints will shout together, Jesus saves. Jesus saves. Rising up so fast and strong, lifting up salvation song. The redeemed will sing forever. Jesus saves. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I know because he saved me. Oh yes. Oh yes. Jesus saves.
Thank you, brother. We had a fabulous day thanks to Mark Hitchcock today. He took Wayne and D.C. and Cindy and me around your beautiful island, and it was delightful, and the weather was perfect. And so thank you so much for allowing him to be our great chauffeur, and we had a delightful time. Let me pray for us. Father, we come to you as our God. We gather under the mantle of Calvary and the empty tomb. We remember our sins and your forgiveness, our lost estate and your rich salvation. We remember with saints around the world the rich freedom we have to gather, to pray, to sing, to worship, to open your word without persecution. Forgive us for our distractions. Forgive us for our lack of discipline. Forgive us for religion. Forgive us for assembling in corporate worship unprepared. Grant us grace that we can see you for who you are. Enable and empower us by your Spirit to desire, to want, to choose, to willingly, eagerly obey. Create in us not just a desire, but a craving for you and you alone. We thank you for this day, which you have made, and we choose to rejoice and be glad in it. In Christ's name, amen. We began thinking about come and see and come and hear, and tonight I want to continue that theme in Psalm 71. Psalm 71 is an interesting passage that really addresses those of us that are mature, which I guess is a bit of a presumption. It's not merely age, but it's that we are maturing in our faith. You know, when we're young, we have no experience, and when we're old, no one cares. It's quite the dilemma. And that generation gap seems to be more and more solidified the older I get. It may not be as prevalent here as it is in the U.S., but the United States worships youth. All you have to do is turn on any primetime television program, whether it's cable or broadcast. Those programs are written by 20-somethings. They're written by young minds, bright minds, clever minds, but they're written by a very young audience, and this is the mainstream media information that is flooding over the hearts and minds of this primetime mental fast food society. It's instantaneous, it clings to youth, it disregards the elderly, and the elderly are thrown away as yesterday's news, as unneeded. We don't need what you have, we don't value what you have, we're going to do it our way. God has a very different perspective. As we started, the Psalms are the psalm hymn theology textbook for the Jew. This was their top 150. Arguably, a pious Jew had all of these songs memorized. The minute they began, they could sing along. Even Psalm 119, these very long psalms. There were acrostics, there were chiastic devices, sort of, it's like a AA prime, BB prime, CC prime, DD prime, and then a point. And these chiastic devices, the parallelisms, the repetitions, each strophe had a hook of a structure. We think of memory and rhyme and rhythm and cadence. The Hebrew, it was structure. And when you put that music to the structure, it worked for the Hebrew ear. And so we're a little bit at a loss in our English text, but it does help us to study and look at some of these things. Now, Psalm 71, if you have, depending on your Bible, it may have a subtitle underneath the psalm. Mine says, Prayer of an Old Man for Deliverance. There is a multi-volume set written by two German scholars, Keil and Delitzsch. And it's standardized work. It's very typical to read these things if you're studying Hebrew or in seminary. And they're stodgy, stuffy academics. But they titled this psalm, Prayer of a Gray-Headed Servant of God for Further Divine Aid. That's an attempt at humor, I think, from these old scholars. I'm going to put this under 4 large brackets. We won't read the whole psalm. I want to look on 4 broad brackets, and I'll repeat them many times if you want to take notes. The reality of aging, the richness of aging, the resources of aging, and the rewards of aging. The reality, the richness, the resources, the rewards. The reality of aging, the richness of aging, the resources of aging, and the rewards of aging. Under each of these 4 big headings, I'll give you some subpoints, and I'll review it as often as I can. Let's first start with the reality of aging. Psalm 71, verse 1, In you, O Lord, I have taken refuge. I want you to pay attention to these terms that I'll emphasize. Let me never be ashamed. In your righteousness, deliver me and rescue me. Incline your ear to me and save me. Be to me a rock of habitation to which I may continually come. For you have given commandment to save me. For you are my rock and my fortress. Rescue me, O my God, out of the hand of the wicked, out of the grasp of the wrongdoer. For you are my hope, O Lord God. You are my confidence from my youth. We can go all the way down to verse 7. You are my strong refuge. Each of these terms, deliver, rescue, save, rock, fortress, these images weren't simply repetitious to make a point. Each of them has a rich backdrop of what's going on. When you go to Israel, the word fortress or stronghold, often translated in your Bible as stronghold, is the word Metsudah. And we'll take you to the southern area of the so-called Dead Sea, past En-Gedi, the spring of the wild goat, where the Song of Solomon's written from. We'll take you up to what's known as Masada. And there's a 70 A.D. story there that's told. But when we go back in biblical times, we have pretty good evidence. Remember I told you about an A, B, C site? I'll put this as a B minus. This was probably David's stronghold. And it's called Metsudah. Metsudah. These terms had vivid imagery. If we talk about the capital, if we talk about the Royal Navy, there are certain things your mind goes to quickly. Each of those terms for the Hebrew ear was very, they related to it far differently than we do. So the first thing we're seeing him say is, you're the go-to. You're the one who saves, protects, delivers, my stronghold. When I'm in trouble, I can go to you, and you'll be there to save, to rescue. And then he sums it up with, you're my hope, and you're my confidence. One of the things that happens to us in verse 9 is we lose strength. Even though we age, the reality is we lose strength. Look at verse 9. Do not cast me off in the time of old age, nor forsake me when my strength fails. As we age, we lose some of our capacity. John Wesley, in his journal, June 29, 1789, wrote, "This day I enter my 86th year. I now find I grow old. 1, my sight is decayed, so I cannot see small print unless I have strong light. 2, my strength is decayed, so I walk much slower than I did some years since. 3, my memory of names, whether persons or places, is decayed. What I should worry about and be afraid is if I took thought of tomorrow, that my body or mind would weigh me down and create in me a stubbornness or decrease my understanding or become peevish. But thou, O Lord, will answer me, O Lord my God." 86 years of age, he's losing his strength, can't see like he can't walk like he used to walk. Many of you recall the day when you didn't need these. In recent years, I had cataract surgery. This is probably literally my 11th refraction for progressive trifocals, and I still cannot see very well. Cindy also has decayed vision. You remember when your parents used to say, "Come read the prescription for me, Michael"? Now I'm going, "Honey, can you read this?" "No, I can't read it either." We're in trouble. There are things that happen to us as we age. No matter how healthy you are, how well you eat, things are used to change. I used to exercise in my 40s. I was in the prime of my health in my 40s. I ate well. I juiced. I played racquetball. I had a trainer. I considered myself invincible. I did all my own yard work, worked on my cars. I could fix anything in my house. That's the way I was raised. And all of a sudden started having pains. Long story short, 4 back surgeries later, I now pay people to do my yard poorly. I have to take my car and have other people service my car. I hate doing things that I know I used to could do, but I can no longer do them. The loss of former strength is a reality of aging. The ongoing struggles of life. Look at verse 10. He writes, "My enemies have spoken against me, and those who watch for my life have consulted together." Now, the psalmist here, we don't know the precise timestamp. Sometimes the psalmist gives us a cue, or there's some reference to something in the narrative that we can go, "Oh, that psalm was about that." We don't know. But we have this aggregate that he had enemies that were pressing down. So he's lost his strength, and now he fears his enemies breathing down his neck. Now, you nor I may have those pressures. Jump back up to verse 4. "Rescue me, O my God, out of the hand of the wicked, out of the grasp of the wrongdoer, the ruthless man." Verse 10 again, "My enemies have spoken against me." Marvin Tate writes, the psalmist might have expected mature age to bring exemption from such attack, but such is not the case. Now, he's worried about real enemies. Let's apply this. Be careful. Let's go from immediate interpretation to application. When we get older, don't we think life should be a little easier? Don't we think we shouldn't have to put up with the hangnails of life, the little peevish things? Don't we think our kids should always come home and say, "Oh, Father of mine, how can I serve you today? You've provided for my family all my living days. How can I help you? Oh, Mother of mine, what can I do to make your load lighter? Oh, Grandfather of mine, let me do that for you." See, not to be indelicate, but that's what I call pornography. We think that way. We think life should work that way. It doesn't work that way. But as we get older, we have this mindset, maybe if we do this, then this should happen. And the psalmist is saying, I've got trouble, I need refuge, and people are after me. Where did we get the idea that life is going to get easier? Grown children can break our heart just as much as young children. Grandchildren can break our heart just as much as a friend. We lose friends. We might have financial problems. We might have ethnic prejudice even in our old mature age. We might have naysayers. Do you have critics in your life? No matter what you say or think, someone's going to tell you, you can't do that. That's a crazy idea. I think all of us, I think God in his great sense of humor has a short list of people that when you think of something, that those critical voices come to your head and heart. So-and-so's not going to like this idea. For me, I think it keeps us humble. But at some point, when children whine, what do? You send them to their room, right? That's what we did. We had this rule. There was no whining in the kitchen. Whine in your room all you want. No whining in the kitchen. You want to whine, go to your room. Now my question is, where do you send a whining adult? And what if you're the whiner? Look in the mirror and say, go to your room? Do you change your attitude? The reality of aging presses in with struggles, look, of loneliness, verse 11. Saying God has forsaken him. Pursue him and seize him, for there is no one to deliver him. As we get older, our friends die. The longer we live, the fewer relationships we have. I've buried two very important mentors in my life. I've buried lots of friends. My mother has buried almost all of her friends. She's 89 years old. She's a very sad person. She's got very poor health. And I talk to her once or twice every week. And I call her. And within a few minutes, she'll be very, very discouraged, very sad. I don't know why I'm still here. I wish the Lord would take me. I don't know why I'm still alive. My father died some 10 years ago. I wish I could die. And she really, I understand it. I'm not being critical or judged. She's lonely. She's lonely. We might know this up here, but until we're there, we don't understand it. It's so far away. And when as the one country song said, it's different when those lines are looking back at you, referring to when you look in the mirror and you see your own wrinkles for the first time. Or you see a picture of yourself. My kids used to always say, Dad, you never age. You never age. They don't say that anymore. One day the mirror changes. And all of a sudden, the realities of aging. We also have some richness of aging in the psalm. The great advantage of aging is that we have experience that other people do not. And this is a big, important thing I think most of us miss. If we're maturing as believers and growing as we are, there should be an accumulation of wealth. If you own a business, you want to accumulate wealth. If you're investing, when you have children, you invest in college, saving for them, you should accumulate. Should not wisdom and the experience of walking with Christ accumulate? And we build this reservoir? Well, there is some richness of aging. Look at verses 5 and 6. You are my hope, O Lord God. You are my confidence from my youth. By you I have been sustained from birth. You are he who took me from my mother's womb. My praise is continually on you. Now some versions in verse 6 seem to suggest David's saying, I relied on you since I was a little boy. But the language is a little more, it's cumbersome sometimes from Hebrew to English, more so than the New Testament Greek. My praise is because you sustained me. You took me and you sustained me. To say it another way, you didn't get here on your own. Where you are today, tonight, is because he sustained you. Yes, we can be faithful or faithless. Yes, he may bless or choose not to bless, but don't pat yourself on the back because you or I have done X and Y. If then Christianity is a deception, if I do this, then this will happen. If I'm good, then this will happen. If I raise my children right, I'll love Jesus. If then theology is bad stuff. So by faith and faithfulness, and DC said it well, I say it a little differently. Pray for faithfulness, not success. I'd rather be faithful than successful. That's hard for some of us to pray. By you I have been sustained. When you look back on your life, do you realize that this day, what is this, the 23rd of April, 2018? He sustained you today. Today. Not yourself, not myself. Polycarp, the bishop of Smyrna, was martyred on the 22nd of February, 156 AD. He was taken to the arena to be fed to the lions. And one of the officials was pleading with him, all you have to do is pay homage to Caesar. That's all you have to do is just pay homage to Caesar. Why do you want to go to the lion's den? He says, for 86 years I have been Christ's slave. He has done me no wrong. How can I blaspheme my king who saved me? And they tossed him to the lions. For 86 years I have been Christ's slave, and he has done no wrong. Are you there? Polycarp's old and frail, but his faith was strong and vital. A second richness of aging, David writes, is your life, verse 7, may become a marvel to many. Now this is a fun word. Some Bibles say wonder to many. The King's English, I think, says portent. He may become a portent to many. The word marvel is a word play. It's the same word used for the signs and wonders during the Exodus. So you think about something that's marvelous. It can be kind of a, it's an astonishing thing. There might be a little bit of a terrible nature to it, but it's also, wow, that's amazing. That's why I love this word. So through a life of struggle, a life of difficulty, a life of disappointment, a life of fighting cancer, a life of losing a loved one, when other people see you and me walk through that faithfully, we become a wonder to them. How do you do that? How do you do that? Cindy and I have a dear friend. She's 91 years of age. She buried her husband, I'm going to say 4 years ago. She's 91 and sharper than Cindy and me combined. Truly. And I talked to her recently, and she just talks about what a privilege it was to be married to her husband all these years. And she is a wonder to me. I cover my mouth and I go, wow, wow. Will I have that attitude when I'm 91, if I should live that long? Mark it down. Look at the people you know, some here, present company included, 80s and 90s. How are they? You want to be like that? That's a loaded question. In my experience in visiting assisted living and people age, you're bitter or sweet. Very little in between. They're bitter or sweet. I pray that I remain sweet, that I don't become bitter. The richness of aging is that you and I, as we live faithful, can be a marvel. Wow, look at how they've endured. Look at how you're not going to get out of this without suffering. Another cheery Michael Easley message. You're not going to get out of here without suffering and pain and disappointment and discouragement. No one does. That's a romance novel. That's nonsense. How we go through it, not if, how we go through it. Most of us can look back on things we've endured. Sometimes we look back and say we're glad it's over. Other times we might blame. We might say, well, God was unfair to me. It was injustice. I've had friends who've been sued and lost fortunes and all kinds of things we can look back on. And you and I can play the victim card, the injustice card. We can also own up and say, you know what? I'm a sinner. I deserve hell. Anything that happens to me, I really shouldn't complain about. That's hard to swallow sometimes, isn't it? Especially when we think we're right. Even if we are right, it's hard to swallow that. Things have happened to me that I don't like. And when people see us walk through that, they go, wow, that's a wonder. The reality of aging, we'll lose strength, we'll struggle, we might be lonely. The richness of aging, the psalmist says, we have a confidence because we've lived a long enough time to go, God's brought me to this day, and if we continue to live faithfully, our life will be a marvel to other people. Do you know some people who've gone through all kinds of trauma and tragedy, and they smile at the future? That's the man or woman I want to be like. Not the bitter ones that are hard to encourage. Well, there's some resources of aging in verses 17 and 18. And how we age, we collect not only this wisdom model, but we also get some resources. Oh God, you have taught me from my youth, and I still declare your wondrous deeds. And even when I'm old and gray, oh God, do not forsake me until I declare your strength to this generation, your power to all who are to come. The psalmist is saying, if I look back on my unhappy life and that's all I do is complain about, well, it used to be the greatest generation, the best years of my life, and we get in that, it's an easy rut to get into. By then, you know what the definition of a rut is? You all know that, right? It's a grave with both ends kicked out. You get in a rut on something and you're stuck in that rut, you're stuck in that attitude. The psalmist says, no, you've got some resources here. My heart sinks. I read this just 2 days ago on the plane. I read through the book of Genesis, and when I got to Genesis 47, this is the end of the story when they've gone through 2 famine cycles, and Jacob's got, all his kids have now gone down to get grain for the second time, and he's going to meet Joseph, who he thought was dead for all these years. And he goes down, and he meets Joseph, of course, as the welcome embrace, and he's introduced to Pharaoh. That doesn't happen. Semitic did not ever get to meet a Pharaoh. So he gets to meet Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Jacob, how many years have you lived? Jacob said to Pharaoh, the years of my sojourning are 130. Few and unpleasant have been the years of my life, nor have they attained to the years that my fathers lived during their days of sojourning. And we look at Jacob as a patriarch. He's a human being. He's a human being. I'm reading this on the plane, and I'm getting a knot in my stomach. The years of my sojourning are 130, few and unpleasant, have been the years of my life, nor have they attained the years of my fathers that they lived on their days of sojourning. Paradoxically, if we look back, we might have that attitude, but if we look forward, we fear getting ill or disabled. This is where you grow up. This is where maturity starts. Midlife is sort of the looking at your children don't need you anymore and your parents are aging. But I would argue there's sort of a mid-late life when I'm not needed at all, really. I mean, other than money, I'm not really needed. My kids, they like us to buy lunch and all that kind of stuff. But then there's not much water left. So what do we do with that? The fear of dying, the fear of tomorrow. The task is to live today. The psalmist continues, verse 17, "O God, you've taught me from my youth, and I still declare your wondrous deeds. And even when I'm old and gray, do not forsake me, until I declare your strength to this generation, your power to all who are to come." Another aspect of these resources is that you've got things you can tell others about. Let me just fast forward here. Frequently, and I mean frequently, I am asked to mentor people. Cindy and I have mentored young married couples for many years. We have this little 2-year program we put together, and we bring them into our home for 2 years, Sunday night for 2 hours. They have a lot of homework to do. It's sort of a graduate school for marriage, and we've done them on and off, 18 years ago, maybe our first one. And it's interesting. Each group is unique. Each time period is unique. The last one we just finished last September, and we just finished last group, and it was a very different group than the prior groups. I go places where I'm around what we call young guns, guys that I think they got man buns and they got weird. You think these are skinny jeans? You see what these guys wear in Nashville? I mean, they don't shave. They got man buns. They drive Leaf cars. It's a stereotypical thing. They have MacBook Airs, iPhone 10s. They live at home. Anyway, these guys, we disagree on everything, on politics, on philosophy, on values. And we'll have these sort of, rough and tumble discussions. And I'll go out of there going, why am I meeting with these guys, man? They drive me nuts. And so I walk out one night. It's hysterical. I got this, I'm probably sacrilegious right now. I've got this big Ford truck. It's a gas guzzler. I love it. And I have this big Ford truck. And these guys get in their little, man bun little cars. And I'd be embarrassed to get one. Anyway, and I said, good night, guys. I'm walking away. And one of them comes over and goes, hey, they call me Dr. E. Hey, Dr. E, we were talking. Would you like mentor us? I'm going, I don't even like you. You don't even like me. But they see something they don't have. The generation gap is a bad analogy today. There's a generation gulf. Because too much is lost on not respecting the elderly, and we disrespect the young because they don't have the values you and I have. And the psalmist says, let me paraphrase it, I don't want to die till I declare your works to this generation. Let me run through the tape and continue doing this. Come and see, come and hear, go and tell. Who are you telling? If you're sitting on your theological laurels, you can't be a mentor. The worst thing you can tell a young person is, when I was your age, let me tell you, how did you respond to that when your parents were, when I was your age, I had to work for 27 hours in one day. I got paid $1. I was happy. That's the kind of stuff we hear, right? It doesn't help anybody. I don't know how to do it perfectly, but I've learned to listen a little better, and I've learned to say something like this, not the same, but, or, something I've learned. Now, put yourself in their shoes. Would you rather hear an older person say, well, when I was your age, this is what we did, or would you rather say, you know what I'm learning right now? When I read this morning, you know what I saw? I saw how sad it was that Jacob felt that way. You see, this has the power. This has the authority. Not you. God uses us as tools, but this is where your strength is. This is where your truth is. This is where substance lies, not with what you and I can create and be clever about. Every church has young people that are struggling in their marriage, their family, their finances, their sex life. You go down the list, their career path, their hopes, their grandparenting. Everybody has got a problem. If you don't, you're living in denial. Denial is not a river in Egypt. It's real. And so when we see other people around us, do they have a community here at this church where they can come to one of you older men or women and say, I'm really struggling in my marriage. I'm really struggling. I believe God, but I'm kind of dead inside. I don't know what I believe anymore. And do you have the grace and the kindness to be able to say, can we get a cup of coffee and talk about that? Or better yet, you take them out. I've heard the word picnic more since I've been in Bermuda than in a long, long time. We have a picnic. I guess you all do picnics. Would you take some young folks out and have a picnic somewhere with no agenda? Would you buy their meal with no agenda? The young men I pursue, now it's on my terms. I choose when and where because I don't want to be at their whim and schedule. And I put a little guilt on them. I say, look, I'm making time for you. I expect you to be there. Because young adults in our country, they do what they want. Anything can change. So I turn the heat up a little bit. But to put your arm around them and listen to their... And when they gush something, it's like, I would never say it to anybody. You take a breath and you go, wow, I'm sorry. I'll pray with you. I'll walk with you. I'll be your friend. I'm not here to tell you. People don't need guilt and shame. They don't need somebody to hammer them when they sin. They don't need to be judged because they're doing something you think is wrong. That doesn't help anybody. When you go to the doctor and you stupid person, smack, you should lose weight. Why do you have cancer, you idiot? Smack you on the face. They go, I want to help you. I want to help you. You're hurting. You're sick. That's called, in the Christian world, compassion. It's called love. Where do we get off thinking we're better than people, for goodness sakes? It's not that hard. We need a lot of mature men and women who are willing to come alongside. The reality of aging, you lose your strength, you'll struggle to build riches, you get confidence, you've got some wisdom, resources, you know some things. The responsibility in that last passage is, are you going to tell the next generation? Lastly, the rewards of aging, verse 22. I will praise you with the harp, even your truth, O God. To you I will sing praises with the lyre, O Holy One of Israel. My lips will shout of joy when I sing praises to you, and my soul, which you have redeemed. My tongue will also utter your righteousness all the day long, for they are ashamed those who are humiliated, who seek my hurt. The psalm ends with a present situation. And there's two rewards. One is to know righteousness, and the second one is to know God's faithfulness. We won't have time to develop those, but essentially what he's saying is, I know that God does the right thing in the right way, and I know God's faithful even when things don't look like they're going the way I want them to go. God does the right thing in the right way, righteousness, and God's faithful even though I can't always see it. And this is the goal of those of us who age. 1836, Charles Simeon retired after 54 years as the bishop of Holy Trinity Church in Cambridge. A friend was walking by his house one morning, and he noticed that Simeon was still getting up at 4 in the morning, making his own fire, and sitting down for what he concluded were his devotions. On one occasion, he remonstrated Mr. Simeon. He said, Simeon, don't you think that now, after you've retired, that you might take things a little more easily? What? Replied the old man. Shall I not now run with all my might when the winning post is in sight? That's who I want to be. And let me be transparent with you. At this chapter of my life, I don't always feel that way. Do you? It's a choice. Nobody can make it but you. You and I hold the gospel of Jesus Christ in our hands. What are you going to do with it? Floyd Sharp was my mentor. He was a retired psychologist when we met. Very long story short, he was diagnosed with bone cancer at 70 years of age. His heart was struggling. His body was ravaged. He'd gone through radiation and all sorts of treatments. And he shared Christ with everybody he met. He had this very long Texas drawl about him. He had a guffaw that I won't mimic him, but he was an interesting fellow. He was in his 70s, walking every day, memorizing Scripture. He read Calvin and Luther recreationally. But you'd have thought he'd have fallen off of a truck somewhere, the way he presented. Brilliant man, loved Christ, was an encourager. And they had to do a procedure because his heart was getting enlarged and the cancer was advancing, and they needed to go in and do a stent. Most of you know what that is. And the risk-reward was very dicey. They said, you may not survive the procedure. And this Floyd's doctor was a man named Dr. Rojas, and he shared Christ with Rojas on a number of occasions. And he grabbed Dr. Rojas's arm, and Rojas came in, and as all surgeons do, are you sure you want to do this? You know, this is your decision. It may not work. And my friend Floyd interrupted him, and he said, Dr. Rojas, I know you're going to do your best. I trust you to do your best. But I want to ask you a question. No matter what the outcome is, whether I live or die, I want you to promise me you'll investigate the claims of Jesus Christ that we've talked about. That was Floyd's dying act, because he died in that OR. What a way to go. And Dr. Rojas drove 40 miles to come to a funeral servant of a patient. Doctors don't do that. You going to run through the tape? Father, thank you for your word. We thank you that it's true. We thank you that we have this message to go and tell. We come and see, we can talk about it, but we need to share responsibly what we've been given. In Jesus' name, amen.
I love you, Michael Easley. I don't care who knows it. Let's stand and sing the last verse of Oh Great God again. Help me now to live a life that's dependent on your grace. Keep my heart and guard my soul from the evils that I face. You are worthy to be praised with my every thought and deed. O great God of highest heaven, glorify your name. You are worthy through me. Oh, you are worthy to be praised with my every thought and deed. O great God of highest heaven, glorify your name.